Hello and welcome to another episode of the Gold Country Media Sports Jam. I'm Jordan.
I'm Aaron.
I bet.
All right, first things first, does pineapple belong on pizza?
Barbecue chicken pizza. That's the only one I will have it on. It is so good on there. It complements it well. It complements the barbecue sauce. It complements the chicken. But I'm not a fan of like Hawaiian pizza with like the ham and stuff. I'm not a fan of that. Only barbecue chicken pizza. That's the only one.
All right, fair enough. I think you can put it on like bacon and jalapeno too, like for a little something like that.
Well, yeah, you could put like bacon on the barbecue chicken pizza too. Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Matt?
I just put it on there.
All right. I think
I'm in the minority there. Not that I'm a big fan of it, but I don't mind it.
I think that's the first one we've kind of all agreed on.
Yeah.
Well, that's not as fun. But anyway, we've had a big week of sports, a lot of stuff heating up. Now we're in the final week of the regular season for winter sports. I can't believe it. It feels like just yesterday we were previewing it. Um, Big
So,
league races coming down to the wire. We've had some tight games. Aaron, let's start with you. I know Tuesday night you were in a little bit of an eye opener over in the FVL. Sorry. Talk about what you saw.
Yeah, I would say I think it's more of an eye opener personally for Placer. I don't think it's anything to like hit the panic button on for Lincoln. I think they'll be fine. But it was Placer Lincoln boys soccer, and it was the first blemish of the season for the Zebras as they got a 0-0 draw, despite totaling 14 shots with 8 on target. They could not find the back of the net. The Hillmen did a phenomenal job forcing Lincoln into difficult places to shoot. They really didn't get a lot of solid chances in the box. There's definitely frustration on the Lincoln sideline and some of the Lincoln players with the referee. There was what they believed to be a missed penalty call, and it was 50-50. I was on the Placer sideline at the time. I believe it was early in the second half. I thought personally it was a penalty, but I think it also is one that I wouldn't want to be wearing, the referee's shirt to make that decision because that could have gone either way. And then, but Placer was very happy with the result. They went on to defeat Nevada Union 5-1 on Thursday. They're very much in the playoff conversation, but they have a huge game against West Park tomorrow on Tuesday. And Jordan, I know you're hitting that, and you'll talk about that later. I know Oakmont's also right there in the hunt, so it's a three-way battle right now for the third place spot, and Placer is leading the charge on that front. The Zebras still clinched a league title with a 4-1 win over Oakmont last Thursday. Again, that draw is the only blemish they have. They still look solid. I know last season they barely finished second in league to Placer, and they got upset in the first round of the playoffs by Christian Brothers. I don't think that's going to happen again. I think you can expect the Zebras to be a very high seed, probably like a 2 or a 3 in Division 3, and I can see them making it a long ways. But that's how Tuesday went. I'll get into Wednesday, and then I'll throw it back over to you guys. Wednesday, I was at Whitney for boys basketball against Del Oro, and this game lived up to the hype and the expectations as it came down to the wire. Whitney won 64-62. Caden Pinnock for Del Oro led all scorers with 19. However, he was ejected with 4 minutes to go after getting his second technical foul. The first came with a near wrestling match at center court between him and Whitney's Elijah Samdahl. That was either late third quarter or early fourth quarter. They were just competing for possession, and they got double technical. I actually didn't see clearly what got him the second technical. I don't know if he was mad about a no call or something like that. Ironically, at the time, Del Oro was actually down 7 points, 59-52, but they came back and went on a surge. They showed a lot of heart down the stretch. Brandon Hill made a couple shots. Jake Williams made a couple pointer, but they just kind of ran out of time towards the end. Matt Schroeder led Whitney with 12 points in the game. The Wildcats turned the ball over far too much with 22 total. However, Del Oro also had 21 turnovers themselves. So both teams kind of need to clean up the turnovers. It definitely wasn't a pretty game out there. And it was also a game of runs. Whitney went on a 13-4 run to end the first half. Del Oro was 9-2 run to start the third quarter. And then Whitney had an 11-2 run to start the fourth. So it kind of went back and forth there for a while. A win's a win in the SFL. Coach French will take it. I know that there's a huge battle right now for the last official qualifying spot. And then, there's at-large qualifying spots, which I'm sure teams like either Del Oro, Whitney, or Granite Bay will receive. Del Oro did go on to win on Friday with a last-second bucket by Brandon Hill over Oak Ridge, while Whitney lost to Folsom.
Yeah, Aaron, did you see the video of Brandon Hill's buzzer beater? I mean, he got
Yeah.
warned by the
Oh
student
yeah,
section.
100%. Yeah, he makes it. He kind of falls down towards the padding on the side, and the buzzer sounds, and the entire black hole just comes over and just swarms them, like you were saying. And yeah, it had to have been like 30, 40 kids out there, and it looked like, after one of these college games, whenever there's a huge upset on the floor and the whole crowd, student section, or the whole crowd basically swarms the field. It looked like that. It looked pretty cool on video.
Oh yeah, definitely. Matt, what about you? What were you at this week and
Hey,
what
what,
did you see?
what game are you talking about there? I
The
was
Oak Ridge Del Oro game.
okay.
Yeah.
I saw it was a 2 point game, so I thought that might have been it, but I didn't hear what happened there at the end. So, yeah, Aaron, what is Granite Bay's leading scorer's name? How's it pronounced? That do you know?
Yakub Mir, and I'm like
Okay.
99% sure on
Okay.
that.
Well, Wednesday I was at Granite Bay at Oak Ridge boys basketball, and when those teams met the first time around in the league, Mr. Mir had 40 points, and Granite Bay won the game. So the game plan this time obviously is don't let them score 40. Oak Ridge held them to 14, and they won this time at 15 points. So in that sense, pretty easy game plan. Oak Ridge got off to a good start. They had a 20-point first quarter. They've been struggling offensively at times, so 20 points was a good first quarter for them, and they held a 10-point lead at that point. And they pretty much led. I think I don't have my notes in front of me, but I pretty much think they had that game, in control until the fourth quarter. They're up by 15, and then halfway through the fourth quarter, Mr. Mir hit a 3-pointer and then doubled it up with or not doubled it up, but then right after that hit a 2-point shot that cut the Oak Ridge lead to 8 with 3:04 to play. And then, Oak Ridge called a timeout. They were turning the ball over against the press almost every time up the court for a while there. And Coach Marcus Bray, hey, stop panicking, catch the ball, turn and look, make a good pass, calm down. He said they hadn't been having a problem with the press for several games, so he doesn't know why all of a sudden they had a problem with it. But anyway, they figured it out, and when they called timeout there, it was an 8-point game, and actually Granite Bay did not score for the last 3 minutes, so Oak Ridge went on to win by 15. So Coach said he wanted to must-win games the rest of the season, so it worked out good for on Wednesday, but Friday they lost the buzzer beater there, you just talked about, to Del Oro, so that one hurt the Trojans. And like I didn't have a game Friday, so Jordan, you want to go ahead with your early week?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. My week started out, I guess, with actually Monday with Placer and Lincoln girls soccer. It was I had a very I'll say I had a very crazy stretch of games this week. So I'll start, I guess, with Monday's game. Placer Lincoln girls soccer. Lincoln dominated the first half of the match, and then all of a sudden, Alicia, I believe it's Azagueda.
Ozagueda. Mm-hmm.
There we go. Hey, I got it. Um, Breaks a scoreless tie 30 seconds in the second half, and it feels like okay, this is going to open up the floodgates for Lincoln, and it did open up the floodgates of scoring, but it opened up the floodgates for Placer because 3 minutes later, Placer equalized on a goal by senior Cameron Blair, which was the first of 3 goals in 11 minutes for the Hillmen. Ella Turner put Placer ahead in the 53rd minute, and then Megan Benyon scored on the 55th minute in a free kick for her first goal of the year. Placer wins 3-1, a huge win for them, and essentially put Placer into playoffs and eliminated Lincoln from playoffs. And it was a great response by Placer to giving up the first goal after a pretty lackluster first half. It's for Lincoln, it's tough. It's tough for a season it's tough to get swept by a rival in a season. It's really tough to drop a match like that where you really did dominate the first half and just had some unlucky bounces go your way. But it's what happened, and that's part of the game sometimes. And then, kind of a similar fashion happened on Tuesday when I was at Lincoln, or I was at Colfax and 12 Bridges boys soccer. This one was even crazier. This was both teams tied for third place going into this, and essentially it was the winner is in, the loser is out. And it was, Colfax ended up taking the match 2-1. It was a very interesting game for Colfax. So they started without their top 2 goal scorers in Sawyer Turius and Cannon Tomlin. Turius had been dealing with an injury for the last couple of weeks, and he was banged up. They're kind of seeing limited time on him. and he was kind of questionable for this match, and they're taking it more like, hey, we're going to see how you feel and throw you in from there, see if we even need you, throw you in from there. He ends up coming in the second half, and team looks completely different when he comes in. He scores first goal of the match about 7 minutes into coming in, put the Falcons on top. And then Cannon Tomlin didn't start the match because he had to finish his homework. He had an English essay that was due, and he was like, I had to get this done, and he was a few minutes late. So you lose your two starting goal scorers for that, and he comes in a little later. But Colfax had a chance to go up 2-0, but a free kick just missed in the top right corner by inches. I thought it was in. Turns out it wasn't. 12 Bridges takes the ensuing goal kick, turns it into a counterattack, and ties it from Evan Lynch. So, it's a game of inches right there. And then the Rhinos control the momentum, and it felt like at the very least this is going to be a draw or, but 12 Bridges knew they needed a goal because Colfax won the first match. So they're like, we need to win this to create that tie in league. And they couldn't get that goal to put them on top. But instead, Colfax ends up with a corner kick in the 77th minute, and Cannon Tomlin bends the corner inside the front post. He took the corner and he literally bent it inside the front post to give the Falcons a 2-1 advantage and hang on for the win. I asked him if he tried to do that, and he said, I mean, if I put the ball in the goal, I'm going to take credit for it. So
was it something? Was it something where he put a lot of power on it to where it just got past him, or
yes, he put power on it, and it had a weird spin, and it looked like the game plan was for Colfax to make a near post run. And from my vantage point, the 12 Bridges keeper kind of came out ready to defend that, and then the ball kind of started curving back in, and there was just no one there to stop it. But when I first saw the ball in the net, I thought it hit the net on the other side, and I was like, that's rough. You have a goal kick that turned into a corner kick, but all of a sudden the 12 Bridges kids look all angry, and Tomlin's getting sworn by his teammates. I'm like, wait, did that go in? So, I mean, crazy game for Colfax. They pick up a big win. It's essentially clinched a playoff spot. And yeah, they find out who they play on Friday. I'll save the second half of my week for a little later. Aaron, we'll throw it back over to you. Where were you at for the second half of your week?
Yeah, and I'll have maybe a tiny bit more to add on what you were saying about the Placer Lincoln girls game when it comes to one of my athlete of the weeks later on. But yeah, Thursday, I went up to Marysville, and quick note, everybody, and I was smart enough to do this. If you're ever driving up to Marysville or Yuba City for any reason, and you can get there before 3 o'clock, do so, because if you don't, you're going to hit a ridiculous amount of traffic, and it's not fun up there when you're in traffic. So I went and had some lunch beforehand, and then I went to the girls' game that started at 4 o'clock, and I caught most of the game. I had to get back and announce the Lincoln Oakmont girls basketball game, but before that, I saw 6 of the 7 goals that the Rhinos scored. Rhinos won 7-0. The game really didn't necessarily mean much in terms of, the Rhinos having a chance to win the league title because they lost to Colfax the game before, but they locked up second place, and, they finished with some momentum going into the postseason. One thing I'll say about just Marysville in general, it's 152 years old as a school. I learned that it's 1871. That has to be one of the oldest schools in the entire area around here. I can't think of a school that's older than that, so pretty cool there. The grass field there is also really nice as well. I would imagine it'd be a really cool place to watch football. They have an interesting berm around that kind of reminds me of Sierra College a little bit. It's just a really cool place to watch a game. The Rhinos got off to an early start with a goal in the 8th minute by Stella Grace Tamayo and never looked back. She actually finished with 4 goals in the contest. If there's anything of concern, there were a couple of injuries for the Rhinos. A couple of players went off during the game and didn't come back on. It didn't look like it was too serious, but it's just something to look at going forward. So yeah, once again, just some momentum for the Rhinos going into the playoffs. And then Friday, I was at Wood Creek for the girls' soccer senior night against Roseville. The Timberwolves, once again, not a huge game implication-wise for them. They had already clinched a league title. They were just trying to finish undefeated in league play. Roseville, it was a big game for them because they were still fighting for their playoff lives, and they still may make it, as I'll get into here shortly. But the Timberwolves in this game just fired at will all game. On my sheet, I had them finishing with over 25 shots, and that might have been the case. When I looked at the stats, it said that they had 17 on goal in the stat sheet. So I have Izzy Duink of Roseville finishing with 14 saves because the Timberwolves could have won this game 8-0. But Izzy Duink in goal just did a phenomenal job for Roseville. she has been a part of the Sac Republic Academy. She plays for San Juan ECNL. She's one of the better goalkeepers in the entire area, and she showed it. But Mia McSweeney scored first with over a 30-yard strike into the top corner in the 49th minute. It was just magnificent to see the way she got enough space to put enough power on it to get it in the top corner. Just a crazy good strike. Tierra Pickle scored in the 74th minute from a corner, and then Layla Echeverria added one in the 80th minute to win it 3-0. Timberwolves are the CBC champs for the 4th season in a row. So for all the seniors, they're a huge way to cap off their high school career, at least in the regular season. And now they're going to try to go after their first section title, and I think they've got a good chance at it. Roseville still has a chance to make playoffs. They just need to hope that Bella Vista basically doesn't destroy Inderkum on Tuesday, because they are a half game ahead of Bella Vista, and then Inderkum is second, so they're looking pretty good to still make it, I think, Roseville. So that's how my week went.
All right, Matt, back over to you. What was going on up the hill, up Highway 50 in Folsom?
Yeah, well, Friday I went down to Sacramento actually for Vista against Christian Brothers girls basketball. These two teams are the two best teams in the league, and two of the best teams in the girls basketball around in the area. Last time Vista at home pulled out a low scoring win. I think they won by 5 or so. Gosh, I hope I'm right there, somewhere in there. Anyway, this game was completely different. Vista, if they won, they would have won the league title outright. Christian Brothers was playing for a piece of the league title, and they showed they wanted it more, because the Falcons came out and dominated the first quarter, leading 13-3. They swarmed Vista defensively. Vista created 11 turnovers from the Eagles in the first quarter, and by the second quarter wasn't much better for Vista. Halftime score 34-6 Christian Brothers. Vista obviously could not make a shot, and when they had trouble getting into the offensive set just because of the turnovers, and when they did turn it over, they had trouble scoring because they only made 2 field goals in the first half. So 34-6 at halftime. But as Vista always tends to do, there's no quitting them. Even down by 28, they came back and cut the lead to 14 in the fourth quarter, 3 minutes to go, but then just ran out of gas. So, they're upset they lost. It was a disappointing loss, no doubt. But, I mean, they did come back for what that's worth, but it just wasn't their night. They just didn't play well, right? There's no sugarcoating it. Alexa Moore and Ella Skernaz both scored 11 points for the Eagles.
So, all right. I mean, tough one. I'll tell you this. We'll get into it on a little bit later, but my game Friday night, the halftime score wasn't much prettier. So at least you weren't alone. But hey, that's a rough one. But girls basketball, I feel like too, you get some games where if one team's on, one team's off, it can be a snowball and it can get out of hand fast. And sounds like it was just one of those nights where
it was disappointing because the first game was so good. I was really looking forward to this game, and I was like, oh no, I just felt so bad for them.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Well, I mean, not to brag, but I did have a little bit of a better game on Wednesday. I was at another Placer Lincoln battle on Wednesday, this time in boys basketball. That was another crucial one, as they were sitting, I think Lincoln at the time was in second in the FBL and Placer was in fourth, but they're separated by a game. And close games have really been the Achilles heel of Placer this season. They entered Wednesday night's game just 1-3 in games decided by single digits. Missed shots, turnovers, unforced errors. All this have really plagued them in these games. And it looked like they were going to do it again. Placer had a 8-point halftime lead, and they entered the fourth quarter trailing Lincoln 46-45 because they blew the lead, and Lincoln held all the momentum. And I was starting to sit there and wonder if I'm going to get run out of town from coming to Placer's games, because if that holds, I'm going to be at 3 pretty bad blown leads in league play for Placer. So I'm like, man, I might be the bad luck charm for this team. But instead, Placer outscored Lincoln 26-13 in the fourth quarter and picked up a 71-59 victory to sweep the season series with the Zebras, and really set them up with some positive momentum as they're moving into the last week of the season. I asked Placer's Coach Lee, what the difference was in this game of, hey, why'd you pull this one out? And he said, well, one, they've been in this situation now. They've seen it. They know how bad it feels to blow a lead and, in these close games. And he kind of said, I think they kind of put it upon themselves to really make sure we don't make these mistakes tonight. He said they moved the ball better. And in the fourth quarter, they were making good decisions and they just had good energy. They never got down on themselves. But a big win for Placer. Ben Manley had 26 points and 8 rebounds. Garrett Dutro had 20 with 9 boards. I don't have his stat in front of me, but actually, I think it was Ben and Jomo had 13 points. I don't have his rebounds in front of me, but it had to be like 15 or something like that. He was a monster on the boards. And then Sammy Tequesta had 19 for Lincoln. He was shooting lights out from downtown in the second half. It was a great game. I don't think the score really does how good the game was. It doesn't really do it justice because it really did feel like it was going down to the wire. It felt like up until about 10, 15 seconds left was really when you could kind of exhale if you were a Placer fan, just because of how that game was going. And then Friday night, I was at a PVL doubleheader of Colfax in Center up in Colfax. It started with the girls' game, and it wasn't much of one. Colfax was up 34-9 at halftime on Center. It took Center until halfway through the third quarter to have more field goal attempts and turnovers in the game. So Colfax was just playing incredible defense. Laurelyn Masick was lights out. She shot, she shot 7 of 12 in the game, 3 of 5 from deep. She had 17 points. Macy Hyman had 8. Gabby Bittner had 9. The Falcons as a team didn't shoot particularly well, just 21-60, 35% from the field. But their defense more than made up for it. They cruised to a 63-19 victory, which mathematically clinched the PVL title for them, their 4th in a row. It was, I say mathematically clinched because if you follow Colfax, or if you follow the basketball scene in the PVL, you know that Colfax beating Marysville last week kind of clinched the league title. There wasn't anyone that was going to challenge him, but mathematically, it was not the league title. Then the boys tipped off right after, and it was kind of a must-win game for both Colfax and Center. They were sitting at 5th and 6th in the PVL, both battling to see if they can make a late postseason push. It was a close game for the first half, but Center ends up pulling away 68-52. So a big win for the Cougars there as they kind of kept their playoff hopes alive. Colfax is going to be playing against rival Bear River tonight in both boys and girls hoops. Girls are playing at Bear River. Boys are up at Colfax. I will be at the boys game up at Colfax because Colfax is still mathematically alive, and Bear River, I believe, can clinch a playoff spot with a win there tonight. So some big games over in the PVL this week. And I guess that kind of starts with where I'm going to be this week. The other game the only one I have planned this week is tomorrow night. I will be at Placer and West Park girls basketball for a big girls basketball game and kind of really shaping up the FVL and what the playoff picture can look like there. I'm keeping the rest of my week open, though. I guess I won't say where I'm going to be yet because, as you guys know, last week of the regular season, we're going to get some big games down the road. And Matt, I'll kind of throw it over to you real quick for where you're going to be. Where are you going to be this week?
Yes, tonight, Vista Boys are on the road at El Camino. I haven't seen them in a few games, so I'm going to check them out. Well, Wednesday, there might be a girls soccer game playing for the playoffs. So Granite Bay and Folsom have tied for 5th place. Only 5 teams go, so they have to play a game to decide which team's going to move on to the playoffs. So that game, they're trying to schedule it for Wednesday. So if it's Wednesday, I'll be there at that game. It's going to be at a neutral site, so they don't have a time or place yet. But Folsom coach Rick Harrigan said they're shooting for 6 p.m. Wednesday. They just got to find a place to hold it because it cannot be in Granite Bay or Folsom. So they're looking for a stadium, I guess. And Friday night, Oak Ridge basketball visits Folsom. So I'll be at that for the SFL finale.
All right. So, I mean, boys soccer. So you said that was boys soccer?
Girls soccer.
Girls soccer. Okay. Because, I mean, I know that the SFL, it's top 5 go, correct?
Right.
All right. We have a bit of dead air time for a second until Aaron gets back. He gave me a 1 second, so.
Well, do you want to do athlete of the week?
Out if you're watching.
I got some athlete of the week. You want to go there? Or?
Yeah, let's go with that. Matt, who's your athlete of the week?
Well, I got my athlete of the week is Tara Johnson. She's an Oak Ridge senior center defender for the soccer team. Oak Ridge, I just checked right now. I think they finished right behind Rockland for the league title. But they only allowed 6 goals all season. And Tara Johnson is a center back, and her goal is to keep balls out of the net, basically, or keep good scoring opportunities from happening. And she obviously did her job well. She's a 4-year varsity starter. She does have 1 assist in the season, even though she's not responsible for that type of thing. But Coach Jeffrey Mikado said of her, she's a very accomplished player, and she's vital to our defensive strength. She's like a security blanket in the middle of the field. And not only can she defend, but she can also move forward, and she's a good passer, great teammate, good with balls in the air, not afraid to get, mix it up. And she's a very aggressive player and very athletic and all around talented player. So Tara Johnson's a key contributor to Oak Ridge soccer team. Also, I wanted to mention these 2 earlier, but I forgot. Ella Skirnaz, sophomore, Vista Del Lago girls basketball. She, this past week, has set the scoring record for most points this season for a basketball player in Vista. Amara Wainwright had the previous record of 478 points, so she's eclipsed that number, and she's closed in on 1,000, but probably won't get that till next year. And then Jacob Olson, Oak Ridge senior leading scorer, he did get his 1,000th career point with the last bucket of the game against Granite Bay on Wednesday. So he has eclipsed the 1,000-point mark for his career.
All right, congratulations to him. Aaron, over to you. Where are you going to be this week? And give me your athletes of the week.
Yeah. So apologies if there was any dead air time. We have a customer came to the door. I had to take care of that. So my athletes of the week for this week for Lincoln, it's going to be Lizzie Meredith. As I said earlier, I wanted to talk a little more about that Lincoln versus Placer girls game. Even though Lincoln lost that game 3-1, Lizzie had 10 saves in that game. She was a midfielder last year, and she has had to kind of transition into the role as goalkeeper, switching a role. And assistant coach this year and last year's goalkeeper, Megan Handel, she said, quote, "She truly tries her hardest in every game and even every practice. She has a positive attitude going in. She had a positive attitude going into the season, especially around playing that spot." So she's really, transformed really well. I know the Zebras have had to deal with a couple of injuries that I think have kind of hurt them. But yeah, she's been definitely a bright spot for them. So she's my athlete of the week for Lincoln. Some other impressive performances for the Lincoln area. Katie Leith had 30 points and 14 rebounds in an 80-30 win over Oakmont. Ayana Woods had 17 points for 12 Bridges girls basketball in a 36-25 win over Wheatland last Wednesday. So she had almost half the team's points. And then my South Placer athlete of the week is going to be Ryan McAdam from Whitney. He is the senior captain. He scored a hat trick in a 4-1 win over Granite Bay last Wednesday that secured the SFL title, back-to-back Sierra Foothill League championships for the Wildcats. So huge win for them, huge hat trick for him. And I know that team is really happy and has a lot of momentum now going into the postseason. So yeah, those are my athletes of the week. And then in terms of where I plan on being, we're recording this on Monday. Tonight, I'm going to be at 12 Bridges it's going to be a Lincoln heavy week until Friday. I'll be at 12 Bridges for boys basketball against Sutter. The Rhinos have already locked up second in the PVL as they lost to Marysville on Friday night, but Sutter is still fighting for their playoff lives in 4th place. The Rhinos beat Sutter by 40 last time. I expect the Rhinos to still win pretty handily. I don't think it's going to be by that much since, the Huskies have a lot to play for, but I'm still going to go with the Rhinos by like 25 points in this one. Wednesday, I am going to be announcing and covering Lincoln girls senior night for soccer against West Park. And this is actually a huge game for playoff implications. So I'll explain it kind of a little bit here. So if Lincoln beats Ponderosa on Monday, they have a chance still for playoffs with a West Park loss to Placer, which could possibly happen because they drew last time 5-5. Last time Lincoln played West Park, it was a 2-2 game. I think if they get Avery back and they're healthy, I think they've got a chance, but I'm going to go 3-2 West Park. I think the West Park's going to get the upper hand in this one. Even though it's Lincoln senior night, I'm going to go with the West Park in this game. Thursday, I'm going to be announcing and covering Lincoln girls basketball senior night versus West Park. This is a big game for both teams still. Also, depending on what happens on Tuesday, Lincoln plays Ponderosa. So if they beat Ponderosa, they're tied now with them for the league, and it comes down to that game on Thursday. West Park plays Placer, and I know that's a huge game still for playoff implications there. So I think, this is going to be another big game for implications, but I'm going to go Lincoln in this one by about 20 points. So I'll go Lincoln over West Park for girls basketball. And then Friday, I'm going to be at two games and I'm not 100% sure yet, but what the initial plan is I'm going to go hit Granite Bay and Del Oro girls basketball at 6, and then race over to Valley Christian and Roseville for the Lions versus Western Sierra boys at 7:30. The Wolves have already have the SMAL title locked up and have a chance to finish undefeated on Friday. Plan B would probably just be a hit the girls game at Western Sierra Valley Christian as well. So stay tuned to see what I decide.
All right, I like it. Hey, busy week. I know I did mention where I'm going to be. I don't know where I'm going to be for the second half of the week, but we will say I do have one place I know I'm going to be on Saturday. I am going to be doing the play-by-play for Jessup's baseball game on Saturday as they play Bushnell. So we'll have some Jessup baseball coverage there. Warriors have dropped the 2 opening series, so they need to get a big win against Bushnell. Bushnell, just second year program for baseball. One of their bigger pitchers actually in that program is Jack Horn, a former Potter, and actually a pretty good friend of mine. So a shout out to you, I guess, and he'll be pitching in that series. So it'll be an interesting one. Jessup really comes in needing a win. But my athletes of the week this week, I want to give a shout out to a few. Ben Manley, as I mentioned, he had 26 points and 8 rebounds in Placer's win over Lincoln. Cannon Tomlin, scoring the game-winning goal to send Colfax to playoffs. Give a shout out to him. Laurelyn Masick as well. Macy Hyman of Colfax had incredible defense. I think I had her down for 6 or 7 steals in Friday night's game against Center. So big one for her. And then to, I guess, a quartet of shout outs for Placer Wrestling. They had 4 FBL champions. In the boys, they had Enzo Gallo at 145 and Grant Eklund at 152, both take first. And then girls, Brianna Packheiser took first in 118 pound. And it is Katie. I am going to butcher this last name. I believe it is Katie Blanchowski. So actually, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Blanchowski. So shout out to you for winning the league titles for that. And yeah, I think that's going to kind of sum up this week in sports. Does anyone have anything they want to add?
Yes.
Yes.
I've got several things, actually. I just want to remember this. We had some signers last week, letters of intent signers. Folsom had 6 football players signed. I'm just going to read this list off. Walker Lyons signed with USC. Greco Carrillo signed with San Jose State. Joseph Chavez signed with the University of San Diego. Diallo Washington signed with Central Washington University. Jake Gruley signed with Presbyterian College. And Ontario Smith signed with Sac State. And then Oak Ridge also had,
that's a big get for Sac State.
Yeah, I agree. And Oak Ridge had 6 signers, none of which were football, but they have 6 from, I think, 6 different sports here. Ryan Spiro, baseball player, signed with the University of Puget Sound. Nicholas Wiedert, lacrosse, signed with Nevada Reno. Grace Hopkins, softball, signed with the University of Hartford. Ella Bolt, rowing, Gonzaga. Kelly Neal, swimming, Westmont College. And Madison Bickle, soccer, William Jessup. And I had one other story here, just real quick. I was talking to Lynn Walking, Folsom High girls basketball coach, and Saturday he took the team down to Stanislaus to watch a senior last year, Michaela Jackson. She's now playing down there in Stanislaus. So the team took a field trip Saturday down to watch Stanislaus play. And, Stanislaus lost. You know what? Gosh, I don't have who they played here. But they lost 66-48. But Michaela scored 22 points, and she leads the team, averaging 17 points a game. And so I know she appreciated the support of seeing all her former teammates there, because a lot of those games aren't heavily attended. And when you have 12, 15 teenage girls screaming for a player, I'm sure she noticed. So I thought that was a nice thing. Take the team down there and watch some college basketball and see a former teammate.
And
Okay.
I actually wanted to add, because you mentioned some signers, Bryce Kilkenny from Whitney will be signed for College of Idaho, and this is a big one. West Park football got their first signer in program history. Devin Dillon's going to be going to CSU Pueblo, so wanted to shout them out as well. Thank you for reminding me about that.
And what's funny is you actually gave me a reminder as well, Matt. With the college performance, a shout out to Placer alum Kai Huntsberry. Actually, who's playing at University of North Texas. The Mean Green are 19-5 this year, and I just want to take a moment to appreciate the name Mean Green, because that's just a great team name. And he was a real standout in I believe it was Saturday's win over Rice, 74-64. He had 21 points for North Texas in that, shot 6 of 13 from the field, 2 of 4 from deep, 7 of 9 for the line. So yeah, good performance from him. It was one short of his season high, which he scored against Long Beach State earlier this year. And yeah, North Texas could make a run to the NCAA tournament, so we could be represented in the Sports Jam in March Madness, which I think means we have to all get press passes to March Madness when it's in Sacramento. Even if North Texas isn't here, I'm pretty sure that's what that means. I mean, I don't make the rules, I enforce it.
I mean, I'm in for that.
So, all right. And if we do have to pay for tickets, I vote that Matt should be the one to pay for them. All right, guys. Well, that's going to just about do it for this week's episode of the Sports Jam. I've been Jordan.
I've been Aaron.
Matt.
And we'll see you next week.